Hi everyone, Aiden here with etrailer. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Benton ShiftShow 4 bike rack, and we're going to see how it fits on the back of our 2024 Jeep Grand Wagoneer L. Now the Wagoneer L is an excellent family vehicle. You got tons of room for passengers and all their cargo, but if you're looking for a way to carry bikes for you and your family, a hitch-mounted bike rack like this is a great way to go. Now I really like this option from Benton because it's going to be one of the most affordable hitch bike racks we carry. So if you and your family are just getting started with biking and you're not wanting to make a huge investment into a really expensive bike rack, or you just don't want it to take up a ton of space in your garage when it's not in use because you're maybe not going that often, this is a great place to start. And it's going to be really effective at carrying 4 bikes and give you some pretty neat features. So let's check it out. Now for starters, this has a 40-pound capacity per bike, which is pretty impressive for a hanging style rack like this. It also features a single arm, so all of your attachment points are pretty close together, which for your bigger bikes works fine. There's not too much sway happening with our large mountain bike here, but it's going to be really good for those smaller kids' bikes because that small frame is going to fit over this smaller arm much easier than if you had 2 points that were spread further apart. Now the one thing I will say is that these bikes do sit really close to one another, so really it just comes down to your bikes. Every set of bikes is going to be a little bit different and they interact with each other differently. But what I'd say is if you're going out with your family, maybe consider putting your 2 adult bikes in the first and third slot and putting your smaller kids' bikes in between there. That way you just have a little bit more wiggle room when you're spacing them out. Now something unique with the ShiftShow here is the fact that you can pull a pin at the bottom and tilt the rack away with the bikes loaded. Most hanging style racks don't recommend this, but the Benton does. And on your Wagoneer L, we just have to turn this handlebar a little bit just so it clears. This is a pretty large lift gate here, but it clears with the bike loaded. And it's worth mentioning that this is an extra large frame mountain bike. If you have just a hybrid bike or a standard road bike, you might not have nearly as many problems as we have today with this bike, but overall, you get good clearance, and it's just nice to know that even with that really large lift gate for that cargo area, you're not sacrificing any feature just to carry the bike rack around. To get the bike unloaded, it's just those 3 straps around the frame that we need to undo. And we'll just press each button, pull that ratcheting strap out. And once it's all released, we can grab our bike and lift it away. Now, you're probably seeing right now with the Wagoneer how high it is. It's gonna be right at face level, and with this particular bike being full suspension, it is a little bit funky getting this unloaded around those components, but not too bad overall. If you're comfortable with up to a 40-pound bike, it shouldn't be too bad, but it's just something to be aware of that this will sit pretty high. Now, some measurements to keep in mind is going to be from your bumper to the furthest point out on the rack, which sits around 36 inches or 3 feet. That's pretty impressive for a 4-bike carrier. You know, yes, the bikes will sit very close to one another, but for an already super long vehicle, you're going to be adding not as much distance as you would be with other racks, so it was going to make it a little bit easier to park and drive around with. But if we choose to leave it in the hitch between rides, you can pull a pin up top and fold that arm down. That way it's ready to go for next time, and it's not going to take up nearly as much space, only sitting out about 16 inches now. So we do cut that down pretty much in half, and this isn't going to really take up too much room. You know, it is centered, so your backup camera will be pretty obstructed, but you can see around the sides okay for your license plate, and your lights are going to be totally fine. Really, just with bikes loaded up, all that will be pretty obstructed, but that's going to be true for any other bike rack out there. This is going to fit perfectly inside of our factory 2-inch receiver tube here, and it does come with an anti-rattle bolt that just tightens up with a nut on the other side, and this is going to be slotted so you don't have to worry about holding on to the other end while you tighten it. It's a really neat system for the anti-rattle. Now, out of the box, it doesn't lock, but you can pick up a locking anti-rattle if you choose to. It's just a nice upgrade that you can make to this to just make it a bit more secure in the hitch if you choose to leave it in here between uses. And when you're all done using it, it's pretty lightweight and easy to manage getting in and out of the hitch. but my favorite feature has got to be that folding shank. This is the piece that I was talking about in the very beginning where I said it's really easy to store. So all you gotta do is pull the pin, fold that shank up, and you get probably the most compact hitch-mounted bike rack that you can get. You know, in your garage, this could very easily fit on a shelf, just get tucked in a corner. I've got a garage fridge that has a very small amount of space between it and the wall, and I could definitely fit this in there. It'd be totally out of the way when it's not in use, so it'd be a really great fit for me and my family. And I imagine for a lot of other people, it'd be a great fit for them too, because you might not be biking all the time, but when you do, you want to have a rack that's capable of carrying all the bikes to their destination and letting your family get out and ride. So if you want to be able to do that with your Grand Wagoneer L, I think the Benton ShiftShow is a pretty great way to do it. My name's Aiden, and thanks for watching.